Welcome to my channel. Subscribe and enjoy daily stories about cheating, revenge, and relationship advice. It was a rainy Tuesday when Rachel first broached the subject. I was in the living room, sorting through a stack of overdue bills, when she walked in, her heels clicking softly on the hardwood floor. The rhythmic patter of the rain against the windows was the only sound that punctuated the quiet of our home. She seemed more poised than usual, her face framed by the soft glow of the lamp beside her. "James," she said, her voice carrying an unusual lightness, "can we talk for a minute?" I glanced up, momentarily distracted from the stack of paperwork. "Sure, what's on your mind?" Rachel perched on the edge of the sofa, her posture a blend of casualness and anxiety. "I've been thinking about something," she began, her fingers fidgeting with the edge of her blouse. "Tom, my boss, has invited me to a business retreat next month. It's in this gorgeous resort by the lake." I raised an eyebrow, sensing something more was coming. "Sounds nice." And Rachel took a deep breath, her eyes meeting mine with a mixture of apprehension and determination. "Well, Tom and I have been talking a lot lately. He's shown interest in me, and I've been thinking about what it would mean to explore that." I set the bills aside, feeling a cold unease settle over me. "Are you saying you want to be with Tom?" Rachel's face flushed. "Not exactly. I'm asking for a hall pass for the retreat. It's not about Tom, not really. It's about experiencing something new, getting a fresh perspective. It's a chance to understand myself better." My heart pounded. "Rachel, are you seriously suggesting that you want to have a free pass to be with someone else? I can't believe this." She looked down, her voice barely above a whisper. "James, it's not like that. It's one time. I'm still committed to you. No, Rachel," I cut her off, standing up with a mix of anger and disbelief. "This is not something I can agree to. Our marriage is built on trust and commitment. I don't see how I could ever be okay with this." Rachel's eyes were wide, her voice shaking. "Please, just hear me out. This is an opportunity for me to explore something I've been curious about. It doesn't mean I love you any less." I shook my head, feeling a sense of betrayal and cold clarity. "If you want to go with Tom, then don't come back. I'm not going to be part of this twisted idea of fidelity. I'm going to contact a lawyer and start preparing for a divorce." Her face went pale, and she opened her mouth as if to argue, but no words came. She stood up, her shoulders slumped, and headed towards the door. "James, wait," she said as she reached the hallway, her voice breaking. "Can't we talk about this? Please, just one more chance to figure things out." I watched her, my resolve firming. "Rachel, there's nothing left to discuss. I've made my decision. If you leave with Tom, this is the end." The door closed behind her, and I was left alone with the sound of the rain, the ticking of the clock, and a heart heavy with the weight of decisions made and a marriage ending. In the weeks following Rachel's proposal, the house felt different, empty, like a space caught between what was and what could be. I threw myself into preparing for the inevitable end, my movements mechanical and driven by a sense of purpose. The contrast between the rain outside and the cold efficiency inside only heightened the gravity of the situation. I'd arranged an appointment with a divorce lawyer, a stern woman named Claire. Her office was as no-nonsense as she was, filled with neat stacks of legal documents and a heavy mahogany desk. I sat across from her, trying to keep my emotions in check. "Mr. Collins," Claire said, flipping through her notes, "I've reviewed the details you provided. Given the circumstances, it seems we have a clear case for an uncontested divorce. Do you have any specific concerns or requests?" I took a deep breath. I want to ensure that Rachel understands this isn't just a petty response to her request. I need to make sure she realizes the seriousness of her actions. Claire nodded. "Understood. We'll handle it in a way that's both respectful and clear. I'll draft the papers and keep you informed about the next steps." As I left Claire's office, I felt a mix of relief and dread. The decision had been made, but the reality of it was beginning to settle in. I returned home to start packing Rachel's belongings, a task that felt both surreal and final. Every item I packed, the framed photos, her clothes, the books she loved, felt like a piece of our shared life slipping away. A few days later, I met with close friends to explain the situation. Mark, a longtime friend of mine, looked at me with a mixture of sympathy and disbelief as I recounted the events. "So, she really wants to do this?" Mark asked, shaking his head. "I can't believe it. I thought you two were solid." "We were," I said, frustration seeping into my voice. "But now, I don't even know who she is anymore. I can't just ignore this and pretend everything's fine." Mark clapped me on the back, his expression earnest. "If you're sure this is what you need, then it's the right choice. Just take care of yourself through this. It's going to be rough." "Thanks, Mark," I said, managing a faint smile. "I appreciate your support." Back at home, I continued the task of packing. Rachel's calls became more frequent, her voice increasingly desperate. Each voicemail left me more resolute in my decision. One evening, as I sorted through her desk drawers, I received a call from her. "James," Rachel's voice crackled over the line, "can we talk? I know we haven't really talked since I left, but I'm back now, and I want to work things out. Can't we just meet?" I hesitated, feeling the weight of my decision pressing down. "Rachel, we've been through this. I've made arrangements with a lawyer and started the process. There's nothing left to discuss. Please, just one meeting," she begged. "I'm willing to do anything to make this right. I didn't realize how much I'd hurt you." "No," I said firmly. "It's too late for that. If you want to continue this path, you'll have to accept the consequences." As the days passed, the reality of Rachel's absence became more pronounced. I began to see the future unfold, a future where I would rebuild, where the pain of betrayal would eventually give way to a new beginning. Despite the emotional toll, I felt a strange sense of clarity and resolve. This was a turning point, and I was determined to see it through to the end. A month later, the house was almost unrecognizable from the home Rachel and I had shared. The rooms felt emptier, stripped of the personal touches that once defined our life together. I had settled into a new routine, one that was quieter and more solitary, yet strangely peaceful. It was a dreary afternoon when Rachel returned. The rain drummed steadily on the windows as I heard the sound of her key in the lock. I had been waiting, mentally preparing myself for this moment, but seeing her again brought a fresh wave of mixed emotions. The door creaked open, and Rachel stepped inside, her face tired and her eyes shadowed with exhaustion. She looked around at the sparse room and then at me, her expression a blend of hope and fear. "James," she said, her voice breaking as she took in the sight of the packed boxes. "I'm back." I stood in the living room, holding the divorce papers in my hand. The document felt heavier than it should, a symbol of the finality of what we were about to face. I looked at Rachel, noting the way her shoulders slumped as she took in her belongings stacked by the door. "Rachel," I said calmly, "I have the divorce papers ready. I thought it would be best to handle this promptly." Her eyes widened in shock. "What? No, this can't be happening. I thought maybe we could talk things over, find a way to work through this." I held up the papers. "I've made my decision. If you went through with the retreat, with Tom, then you've chosen this path. There's no turning back now." Rachel's voice grew more desperate. "James, please. I realize now that what I did was a mistake. I was caught up in the moment and didn't think about how it would affect us. I'm truly sorry. Just give me a chance to make things right." I shook my head, feeling a cold resolve settle over me. "Rachel, I've already packed your things and arranged everything with the lawyer. I need you to understand that this is the consequence of your actions. It's not about second chances anymore." Rachel's face was pale, and she took a step closer, reaching out as if to grasp at something intangible. "James, this is unfair. I didn't mean for things to get this bad. I thought we could find a way to fix this." I remained firm, though my heart ached with the pain of the situation. "Life isn't always fair," Rachel. You made a choice, and now we both have to deal with the results. She sank down onto the edge of the sofa, her hands covering her face as she began to cry. I didn't think it would end like this. I didn't want to lose you. I thought we could get past this. I stood silently, letting the weight of her words hang in the air. Finally, I spoke, my voice steady. I'm sorry, Rachel. I wish things could have been different, but this is the reality we face now. She sat there for a long moment, her tears silent and heavy. I watched her, feeling the finality of our separation settle in. It was a somber ending to a chapter of our lives that had once been full of hope and promise. Eventually, Rachel collected her packed belongings and headed towards the door, her steps slow and deliberate. Goodbye, James, she said, her voice barely a whisper. Goodbye, Rachel, I replied, the words carrying a weight of their own. As the door closed behind her, I was left with the quiet of the house and the knowledge that our marriage was truly over. After Rachel's departure, the house felt emptier than ever. The silence was deafening, filled only by the soft hum of the refrigerator and the occasional creak of settling wood. The space, once filled with the sounds of shared life, now seemed almost hollow. I moved through the rooms with a sense of detachment, each item a reminder of what had been lost. In the weeks following Rachel's departure, I threw myself into rebuilding my life. I focused on small, achievable goals, organizing my work schedule, reconnecting with old friends, and taking up new hobbies. Each step was a deliberate attempt to create a new routine, one that didn't revolve around the remnants of my past life. One evening, I met Mark for drinks at a local pub. The familiar clinking of glasses and the murmur of conversations provided a welcome distraction. Mark looked at me with a sympathetic yet hopeful expression as he poured over his beer. So, how's the new life treating you? Mark asked, taking a sip of his drink. It's a work in progress, I said, trying to sound more positive than I felt. I'm adjusting, slowly. It's strange how quiet everything is now. Mark nodded, understanding. I can imagine. It's got to be tough. But you seem to be handling it well. I'm glad you're staying busy. I have to, I replied. It helps keep my mind off things. I've also started taking a class on woodworking. It's surprisingly therapeutic, Mark chuckled. Well, if you ever decide to start a new career as a carpenter, let me know. I might need some custom furniture. I smiled, appreciating the attempt at lightness. I'll keep that in mind. Thanks for the support, Mark. It means a lot. As the weeks turned into months, the initial sting of Rachel's departure began to fade. I found solace in the rhythm of my new life, though the echoes of the past occasionally surfaced. I received a few more messages from Rachel, each one a mix of apologies and explanations, but I chose not to respond. It was clear to me that our relationship had reached its end, and no amount of correspondence could change that. One day, I received a final letter from Rachel. It was a simple note, devoid of any pleading or regret, just an apology and a farewell. I sat down at my kitchen table, reading the letter with a sense of closure. James, the letter began, I wanted to thank you for the time we shared and to apologize for the hurt I caused. I understand now that our paths had to diverge. I hope you find happiness and fulfillment in whatever comes next. Goodbye. I folded the letter and set it aside, feeling a bittersweet mixture of relief and melancholy. It was a final acknowledgement of what had happened, and it gave me a sense of closure that I hadn't realized I needed. In the months that followed, I continued to rebuild my life. I found new ways to engage with the world and began to rediscover aspects of myself that had been overshadowed by the marriage. It was a process of healing and growth, one that allowed me to embrace the future with a renewed sense of purpose. Rachel's absence became less of a wound and more of a distant memory, a chapter in my life that had taught me valuable lessons. As time went on, I looked forward with cautious optimism, ready to face whatever came next with the strength and clarity I had gained through the trials of the past. Fluorescent lights of the store flickered above me as I walked through the aisles, the hum of the cooling units and the occasional beep of the cash registers creating a constant, soothing background noise. I had always enjoyed the predictability of my work environment. The shelves were stocked, the aisles were orderly, and my team was dependable. But today, something felt off. It was a routine I'd followed countless times, checking inventory before the store opened. I rounded the corner into the stockroom, where employees often congregated. As I approached, I heard muffled voices and a burst of laughter. I paused, my curiosity piqued. The voices belonged to Tina and Kit. "Tina, come on, don't be so uptight," Kit's voice said, carrying a hint of flirtation. "Just one drink after work, no strings attached." "I told you, Kit, I'm busy," Tina's voice responded, but it lacked the firmness I expected. There was an undertone of something softer, more accommodating. My heart skipped a beat. I stepped closer, just enough to see through the crack in the door. Tina was standing close to Kit, his hand resting on her arm as he leaned in. She looked uncomfortable but was smiling awkwardly. My breath caught in my throat as I saw Kit's gaze, lingering too long, his proximity too intimate. I cleared my throat loudly, stepping fully into view. Tina jumped, pulling away from Kit immediately. Kit's expression shifted to one of surprise and something like guilt. Tina forced a smile. "Hey," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I didn't mean to interrupt. Just checking on inventory." "Oh, hi," Tina said, her voice high-pitched and a bit too bright. "We were just, discussing the new stock." "Right," I said, not buying it for a second. "Well, I'll let you get back to it. Just making sure everything's in order." I turned and walked away, but the image of them lingered. I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal that gnawed at me. Tina's reassurances were no comfort. I decided to give her the benefit of the doubt, but as the days went by, the unease only grew. Later that week, I found myself in a quiet corner of the break room, my mind racing as I tried to piece together what I'd seen. I replayed the scene over and over, trying to make sense of it all. My phone buzzed, and I saw a message from Tina. "Tina, can we talk? Something's been bothering me, and I think we need to clear the air." I stared at the message, feeling a sinking feeling in my stomach. I knew we needed to talk, but I wasn't sure I was ready for the truth. I sent back a simple reply. "Me, sure, let's talk tonight." The afternoon dragged on, and when the store finally closed, I met Tina in our usual cafe down the street. We sat at a corner table, the dim lighting casting shadows that seemed to deepen the atmosphere of our conversation. "Hey," Tina said as she sat down, her eyes avoiding mine. "Thanks for meeting me." "No problem," I replied, trying to keep my tone neutral. "What's on your mind?" Tina took a deep breath. "Look, I know you've been noticing things." "I've seen things, Tina," I interrupted, trying to control my voice. "Like you and Kit." "What's going on?" Her eyes widened, and she looked down at her hands. "It's not what you think. Kit's just friendly. He's always like that with everyone." "Friendly?" I echoed, my voice rising. "The way he was touching you. That's not just friendly. I need to know if there's something more going on." Tina's face flushed, and she looked pained. "I swear, there's nothing between us. Kit's just a flirt. It's harmless." "Harmless?" I said, my frustration boiling over. "It doesn't look harmless to me. I need to know where we stand." Tina hesitated, then nodded. "Okay. Maybe I haven't been honest. There's been some confusion. But I'm with you, not him." I wanted to believe her, but doubt clouded my judgment. That night, as I lay in bed, the image of Tina and Kit replayed in my mind. I knew I had to keep my eyes open. Something wasn't right, and I needed to find out the truth before I could move forward. The days following my unsettling encounter with Tina and Kit were fraught with tension. I found myself unable to focus at work, my mind constantly drifting back to that moment. Tina's assurances had not eased my concerns, if anything, they had only intensified them. I needed to know the truth, so I decided to confront Tina directly. One evening, after another long day at the store, I asked Tina to meet me at a quiet park near our apartment. I needed a neutral space to talk, away from the prying eyes of coworkers and the distractions of home. As Tina arrived, she looked apprehensive but put on a brave face. We found a bench beneath a sprawling oak tree, the setting sun casting long shadows on the grass. "Thanks for coming," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Of course," Tina replied, sitting down beside me. Her voice was soft, almost tentative. "What's this about?" "I've seen things, Tina," I began, my tone serious. "And I need you to be honest with me. I saw you and Kit in the stockroom, and I know you said it was nothing, but..." Tina's face flushed, and she looked away. "I've already told you, it was nothing. Kit is just friendly. He flirts with everyone." "Friendly doesn't explain what I saw," I said, my frustration growing. "You looked uncomfortable, but you didn't push him away. I need to understand why." Tina sighed heavily, her shoulders slumping. "I didn't push him away because he's persistent. I didn't want to make a scene, and honestly, I didn't think it was worth it. It was just a conversation, but it got out of hand." "A conversation?" I asked, incredulous. "It looked like more than that to me. I need to know if there's something going on between you two." Tina's eyes filled with tears. "I swear, there's nothing between us. Kit's just a flirt, and I've been trying to avoid him. But every time he's around, he makes things awkward. I didn't want to tell you because I didn't want to cause more problems." I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out my phone. "I got something that might change things." Tina's eyes widened as I showed her the video. Her face went pale as she watched Tina and Kit in a compromising situation, the intimacy of their actions leaving no room for doubt. "Oh my God," Tina whispered, her hand flying to her mouth. "Where did you get this?" "From an anonymous source," I said, my voice cold. "I wanted to believe you, Tina. I wanted to think that there was an explanation, but seeing this..." Tina's shoulders shook as she began to cry. "It was a mistake, a stupid mistake. Kit and we had a moment of weakness. I didn't think it would get out. I didn't want this to happen." I shook my head, struggling to control my emotions. "I don't know what to do with this, Tina. I feel betrayed and hurt. This video, it changes everything." "I'm so sorry," Tina said, her voice breaking. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen. Please, believe me. I want to fix this." "I don't know if that's possible," I said, my voice heavy with resignation. "Trust is broken, and I can't just overlook this. I need time to think." Tina nodded, wiping her tears. "I understand. I'll give you space. I just hope we can figure this out." As Tina walked away, the weight of the situation settled heavily on my shoulders. I knew that this was far from over. I needed to think about how to handle the situation with Kit and how to move forward. The betrayal I felt was overwhelming, and I had to decide the best way to confront the fallout of this discovery. The days after confronting Tina were filled with tension and sleepless nights. The video I had received weighed heavily on me, and the anger I felt was a constant companion. I had been considering my options, trying to decide how to handle the situation with Kit. As the weekend approached, I decided I couldn't let the betrayal go unanswered. The time had come for me to act. On Monday morning, the store was buzzing with the usual pre-opening activity. Employees were restocking shelves, preparing the registers, and getting ready for the day's customers. I arrived early, determined to set my plan into motion. I couldn't stand the thought of Kit walking around like he had won some twisted victory. The video needed to be seen, and everyone needed to know the truth. I took a deep breath and prepared myself. I sent the video to all of Kit's contacts, friends, family, and coworkers. The video was explicit and undeniable, showcasing Kit's indiscretions and the compromising situation with Tina. I hit send and watched as the messages went out, one by one. The store's atmosphere shifted as the day went on. Whispers started, and the once normal hum of activity was replaced by hushed conversations and shocked expressions. Kit arrived at work around midday, completely unaware of the storm brewing. I saw him walk in, his usual cocky smile plastered on his face. He was greeted with silence and sideways glances, a stark contrast to his usual reception. It didn't take long for him to notice the change. "Hey, what's going on?" Kit asked, frowning as he approached the break room. "Didn't you see?" Sam, one of the junior staff members, asked with a mix of curiosity and pity. "See what?" Kit's confusion deepened as he pulled out his phone to check messages. His face drained of color as he saw the video and the accompanying messages from his contacts. "Oh, shit," Kit muttered, his eyes wide. "This is bad." By then, the video had already circulated among the staff, and the reactions were harsh. I watched from a distance as Kit's usual bravado crumbled. He paced around, trying to explain and defend himself, but the damage was already done. The video had done its job, and Kit's reputation was in tatters. A few hours later, Tina arrived at the store. Her face was pale, her expression one of distress. She approached me cautiously. "I saw what happened," Tina said, her voice trembling. "Is this really necessary? Can't we handle this privately?" "No, Tina," I said firmly. "It's out in the open now. Kit needs to face the consequences of his actions, and so do you. This wasn't just about the affair, it's about respect and honesty." "I know," Tina replied, tears welling up in her eyes. "I messed up, and I'm sorry. But I didn't want it to come to this." Kit's outburst could be heard from the break room. "This is bullshit. I didn't think it would go this far." The store manager, Mr. Thompson, approached Kit, his face stern. "Kit, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. We need to address this situation immediately." Kit's face was a mix of anger and humiliation as he stormed out. The murmurs in the store grew louder, filled with gossip and judgment. Tina stood by, her eyes red from crying, as she faced the disapproval of her colleagues. The fallout was swift and brutal. As the day wore on, the store felt like a battlefield of whispers and pointed glances. I felt a twisted sense of satisfaction, but also a deep emptiness. I had exposed Kit, but the damage done to Tina and the atmosphere in the store was palpable. I knew that things would never be the same, and the cost of my revenge was starting to weigh heavily on me. The aftermath of the video's release was nothing short of catastrophic. The store, once a place of routine and camaraderie, had become a cauldron of tension and gossip. The once bustling atmosphere was now tinged with an undercurrent of judgment and mistrust. Kit, unable to handle the humiliation, had been sent home that Monday. Rumors swirled that he had been severely beaten by unknown assailants, though no one had concrete details. The store's management, overwhelmed by the situation, had no choice but to send out an email to staff and suppliers, announcing Kit's indefinite suspension pending investigation. The whispers of his beating only fueled the rumor mill. Tina, on the other hand, faced the immediate repercussions of her actions. Her co-workers, who had once been friends, now treated her with a mixture of coldness and pity. The store, once a social hub, had turned into an arena of judgment. On Tuesday, Tina tried to maintain a brave face as she walked into the store. She approached me with a hesitant step, her eyes red from a night of crying. "Can we talk?" she asked quietly, her voice breaking. I nodded, leading her to a quieter corner of the staff room. "What's on your mind?" "I understand why you did what you did," Tina began, her voice trembling. "But I didn't expect it to get this bad. I didn't think it would destroy everything." "It wasn't just about you, Tina," I said, struggling to keep my emotions in check. Kit was flaunting his behavior, and I couldn't stand by and let him continue. "But now, it's all out of control." Tina nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I know. I've lost everything. My friends, my reputation. I'm isolated here. It's like I don't even belong." Maybe it's time to consider moving on, I suggested gently. Starting over somewhere else might be the best thing for you right now. Tina looked down, her shoulders shaking. I just wish I could take it all back. Meanwhile, Kit's absence had created a significant shift in the store's dynamics. His usual presence was conspicuously missing, and the once vibrant break room now felt like a place of quiet resentment. Employees who had previously tolerated Kit's behavior now found themselves at the center of discussions about the fallout. In the break room, Sam, a junior staff member, spoke to me about the situation. It's crazy. I didn't expect things to escalate like this. Kit's always been a bit of a jerk, but this is beyond what I thought he deserved. I didn't expect it either, I admitted. I thought exposing him would be enough, but now everything is spiraling. It's like a chain reaction. As the week went on, the rumors about Kit's beating gained momentum. A few employees claimed to have heard that he had been found in a bad state, though no one could confirm the details. The speculation ranged from Kit being in the hospital to being permanently injured. His absence from work remained unexplained, leaving a void that fueled further gossip. On Friday, Mr. Thompson, the store manager, called a meeting to address the situation. The room was filled with apprehension as he spoke to the staff. I know this week has been difficult for everyone, Mr. Thompson said, his voice somber. We're working on resolving the issues surrounding Kit's suspension and the impact it's had on the store. I ask that we all focus on maintaining professionalism and supporting each other during this time. The meeting did little to calm the storm. Tina's isolation continued, and her interactions with coworkers remained strained. As for me, I struggled with a mix of satisfaction and regret. My actions had achieved what I set out to do, but the collateral damage had been immense. As the week drew to a close, the store had settled into a new routine, though the air remained heavy with the remnants of the scandal. The personal and professional relationships that had been so easily shattered now lay in ruins, and the once familiar environment was marred by the fallout of a single, devastating decision.